Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, I'm going to introduce you to citation networks and how you can use them. Now, before I introduce you to the tool that would allow you to do this, a citation network is basically a visual diagram or network that allows you to investigate where a paper sits within the literature, and it also allows you to identify the most influential papers within the field based on how many times they've been cited by other authors. So the first step to this process is identifying the paper that you want to explore in terms of where it sits in the field, and also to find out the other papers that are related to it. So I've typed in a paper on Google and I've found one of the websites where it is listed, and we're not actually going in to read or download this paper. The only thing we need is the DOI, or the digital object identifier. So here on this website I can see that the DOI is here, so I'm going to hover over that and copy it to my clipboard. Now what we're going to do after that is open a new tab, or use the same tab, and type in local citation network on Google. Now if you see this as your first search result, then good stuff, because this is the website we're going to be using. Local citation network, GitHub pages. So go ahead and click on that. And once you get to the website, this is the home page. It's really easy to use. It's literally a 3-step process. We click on the plus sign, we paste the DOI into the bar from the website that we've just taken it from, and we click done. Now once it's finished loading, it will show you a page that looks similar to this one. And it may look a bit overwhelming at first, but don't worry, it's fairly easy to interpret. So we'll start over here on the left. This is the input articles, or the way to think of this is articles that are related to the one that you just pasted the DOI into the search bar. So you can see here we have the title of the paper, the first author, the year, and how many times it's been cited. But we're not really interested in this for the minute. And we're going to go over to the right hand side of the page and look at the citation network. Now again, this looks a little bit overwhelming with all the lines and the circles, but don't worry, I'll tell you how to interpret it. So you can see that there are lots of circles of different sizes and different colors, as well as lots of lines pointing in lots of random directions. So first things first, each circle or node represents a paper. And you can see when you hover over it, it tells you the authors, the name of the paper, the journal that it's published, and the year that it was published. Next, you'll want to know that the larger the circle is, the more times that it has been cited by other papers. So if we compare this circle, which is relatively large, to one of these circles up here, we can see that by all the arrows that are pointing towards this one, and relatively little amounts of arrows pointing to this one, we can see that this paper really is influential within the field. And we can also see that there are other circles that are slightly smaller than that one. Now this also means that these papers are influential within the field within their own right, but maybe they didn't set the foundation for the field as much as this particular paper did. Now you'll also see that I just clicked on a circle here. You can click on any of these circles, and you can zoom in to go into some of these small ones. And what happens when you click on the field is you'll see the table on the left is moving. So when you click on one of these circles here, it will highlight the paper here, and it will let you know what its title is, who the author is, and when it was published, etc. Now what you can do from here is right click and open a new link, and what this will do is it will paste the DOI into Google for you and take you to the place where the paper is. So if you have yet to come across a particular paper that seems to be incredibly important in the field based on its size, then that is how you would go to access the paper in order to read it and take notes on it and make sure you understand it. So we can see over here that it says newer articles are at the top and that older articles are at the bottom. So if we scroll up over here and hover over one of these nodes up here, we can see that it says 2014. And if we scroll out and then hover over one of the nodes down here, we can see that it says 1980. Now, something important for you to know is that based on the year that the paper you're investigating was published in, that is the cutoff point for the year that it will deem the newer articles to be classified as. So if you can see here, when we scroll over this one, it says 2014. Now we're currently in the year 2020, and that means that this is 6 years behind the most recent research. But it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you can go and find a paper from 2019 or 2020 in order to get a more fuller view of the field, especially the more recent movements. But it doesn't really matter too much, because what we're looking for here during this exercise is the foundation papers. That is, the papers that pave the way towards the new research. So let's say, for example's sake, we're an undergraduate student. We're just beginning our literature review for our dissertation. We've found a paper that interests us, but we're not sure where it sits in the field or any papers that are related to it. So we'd come to this website, we'd paste the DOI into the bar, and we'd hit enter, and then we'd come to analyze the graph, whatever it may look like for that particular paper. Now, how I'd go about it is this. I'd see, okay, so this clearly seems to be the most dominant mode of thought within the field at the minute, but there were previous influential papers that came prior to that publication. So I'd go down here and I'd say, okay, so this one looks kind of influential, and then I'd go over here, I'd right click and I'd open it, and I'd go find it and read it, and then I'd do the same for this one as well, and maybe this one as well. So what this allows you to do is to just pave the way for how the mode of thought has changed, or what papers have inspired the change in the mode of thought, and then eventually you'd make your way to this one, and then you'd branch out from there to more of the newer research. So just as a quick note, I know I'm focusing on some of the larger circles in the diagram here, but that's not to say that we should neglect some of the smaller circles in the diagram. And the reason being is because whilst this large circle has paved the way, or is the most dominant theory within the field, it doesn't mean that it hasn't been applied to some of these smaller nodes. So the way we can interpret this paper is it's taken the theory from this and it's applied it to a more specific scenario, and that won't be cited as much because it's branched away from theorizing about the whole thing and it's applying it to a particular area. Now this can be inspiring for you, as when it comes to tackling your dissertation project, you have to choose a niche or specialist area in order for you to be able to contribute to the movement of science and knowledge. So when you're tackling the choice of what do I focus on, I can't focus on something as broad as that, so I need to apply it to a specific area. You can zoom in and have a look at some of these smaller papers here to inspire your choice as to what you do your dissertation on. Now, the way I like to think about citation networks is that they're a tool that allows you to explore the literature and pick out the most dominant papers that have paved the way for the field to develop and become a new area of research, whether that be theory or practice. Now, just for demonstration purposes, I have another paper here open, which shows you that not all diagrams will be as convoluted and messy as the other one. And the reason why this one in particular is very messy is because that the paper I chose is in fact a meta-analysis, which means that within the paper itself it's already spanning loads of papers, which will then link it to other papers, and it will become a lot more interconnected with other papers. But if we choose this one here, this is just a standard academic paper, and you can see it's less busy and there's less circles that are as large as that other one, probably because less papers are included in the article. And you can actually see that this paper is exactly the same as this one on this article, and they're two completely different sizes. So what I'm trying to illustrate is, don't worry too much if yours doesn't look as crowded as that. Either way, the larger the circle is, the more influential the paper is. So I hope this tutorial has been of some use to you. I wish I knew about this tool when I started my dissertation, as it would have saved me a lot of time and effort when it came to scoping the literature and trying to connect all of the dots. So again, you can use this any way you see fit. It's just my job to introduce it to you. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and I hope you have a nice day.